Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cryptid Cocktail Party, a show where we have a few drinks, share a few laughs, take a dive into the unknown. I'm your host, Dave, and today I'm joined by someone who is a self-described Southie 2, Sarge the Destroyer. What's going on, bud?
I am a Southie too. That's fair.
I heard you say that yesterday when I was listening to your new episode, and I was like, I got to use that as the intro. It's so fucking good. But hey, to me, you're a P-Town 8.
I'm a Nashua 10.
That's so fucking true. Manchester 9, maybe. I'll give you a Manchester 9.
Yep, Manchester 9. Well, oh my God, Portsmouth. I'm a 1 if I'm lucky.
Oh, dude, I lived in Dover, right next to Portsmouth. I don't feel good going there.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going on, bud? How you doing?
I'm good. I just came back from a midsummer festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw my daughter making one of those flower crowns, and I decided maybe this would be a good time
to leave,
to move on before we start burning down a large wooden building and pushing old people off a cliff.
Yeah, dude. It's
spoiler alert, by the way, for those of you who
that's like
haven't seen a movie that came out 10 years ago.
I was gonna say I think people will be fine.
I love that movie. The first time I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, no, this sounds very Scandinavian, everything that's happening. Like throughout the entire movie, I was like, very Scandinavian. Yeah. My father is Norwegian.
Yeah,
and Swedish. So it's very
the one thing about those like A24 like horror movies though, like Hereditary, Midsummer, I think The Witch is also like one of those, is that you can only watch them once. Like I've watched Midsummer a few. I can't watch The Descendants more than, is it Descendants? The Descent?
Which is the one where the little kid gets decapitated like 4 seconds in.
Is it Hereditary? The little sister?
Hereditary. I don't know why I'm saying Descendants. Hereditary.
Well, Hereditary
I can only watch.
Is kind of like, it's kind of the same in a way.
Kind of, right? So I can only watch Hereditary once.
I mean, you can watch them multiple times, but but once you know what's going on, it's like, meh.
I don't know. I really love the ending of Midsummer. I just think it's like the coolest ending.
Oh.
I loved The Witch. I thought that was a phenomenal movie.
I love The Witch. But if we're gonna talk about amazing endings to horror movies, there's only one that actually matters, and I've been saying this for fucking years. The best ending to any horror movie ever is The Mist. Hands down.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The best horror.
Yep.
Dude, like the ending is so fucking just like, oh, you're so close. You were so close. And you just fucking murdered everyone.
The ending of The Mist is like the story of my life. Just in terms of like, I'm almost always fucking myself over.
Yeah, but are you fucking yourself over to the point where you're metaphorically
I've not murdered my whole family,
everyone in the fucking car
because I'm afraid of them being enveloped by a mist. No, I haven't done that yet, but there's still time.
Dude, I remember when that movie first came out. I watched it. I went to theaters to see it, and when they're driving down like 95, and I kept seeing signs like, I know that highway sign. I know that highway sign. But then they re-released it in black and white, and I don't know why, but for some reason, so much better.
Oh yeah,
so much better.
Oh yeah,
I think it's because the CGI doesn't look as trash. Like there's that one scene where the tentacle comes out underneath like the door, and it just looks so bad. But anyways, I know we've got a whole podcast to record, but while we're on the subject of horror movies, I have an unpopular opinion, and I think we're probably going to lose some followers for this, but I have to say it. The 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead is as good as the original. I'll take it. It is. It's just as good. It's not better, but there's no way it's worse. No, but also, yeah, I don't. I mean, Romero was involved with it. Toby Hooper directed it. I mean, it's just so good. I'm going to be honest. I liked Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. I thought that was really good. Yeah. I didn't mind that the zombies ran. I didn't give a fuck. Yeah, that didn't bother me at all. That made them scarier to me because they moved faster. Yeah, but also the pregnant lady who's fucking dies because the zombie baby was inside of her and fucking. Oh, holy shit. So good. That was horrifying. And like, I think
I think people like get mad about fast zombies, and I'm like, you're mad that they're scarier? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's way more terrifying, and it also makes way more sense. But also,
yeah, and if you watch like South Korean, there's a good South Korean zombie movie called Train to Busan. That sounds man, crazy those familiar. Zombies. It's so good. There's a sequel that I haven't seen because I can't find it anywhere. I'm sure it's just because I'm lazy and don't want to pay for it. So I haven't found it because I wasn't looking in the right places. But the first one is usually on Netflix, and it is fucking terrifying.
All right, I'll have to.
And the ending, it's just a kick in the balls. It's almost as difficult as The Mist.
See, that's the thing with me. Like, I love horror movies that end on just like the most bummer of notes. You know what I mean? Like, or not even horror movies, just movies in general, where like you think the good guy's gonna win and they're almost there, and then like it's just nope, fucking dunzo.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not talking about like when like the end of Freddy movies when like, oh, everyone's driving away and then the mom gets ripped through I'm talking about like real life fucking consequences that are just done. Like fucking Midnight Meat Train. You ever see that movie?
It sounds like the name of a sex tape.
It kind of is. It's got fucking Bradley Cooper, and that's all you need to know. And there's mole men under the dude. It's bonkers, but
I need to see this.
You really do.
Now I need to know
10 out of 10.
This movie.
So good. Midnight Meat, and it also has who's that dude from like I think it's Gone in 60 Seconds, the one that's always quiet, big tall lurch looking motherfucker. You know,
oh God, that's everybody in Hollywood.
I'll send you a picture. We'll figure it out. But he's the Midnight Meat Train guy. I'm not going to explain.
I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up on IMDb.
I was about to like explain the whole movie to you, but I realized we're like 8 minutes in and we haven't even come close to starting to talk about what we're talking.
It's not what this podcast is about. People are tuning in for the first time. Like, I thought this was supposed to be about cryptids. What is happening right now?
We could do a podcast where it's us half remembering horror movies and trying to explain the plot.
A brief synopsis based on what I remember after a night of drinking.
It's got Bradley Cooper and the guy from Gone in 60 Seconds, and there's a train, and then there's meat. It's fucked up. That's all you need to know.
Well, I mean, like, the worst part is Gone in 60 Seconds has like 20 guys, and you just described half of them.
He's the one that doesn't talk. Like, they call him up on the phone, and he answers the phone, and they're
you know, yeah. I know who you're talking about now.
I don't know what else he's in, but I mean, I do.
I feel like it's always Vinnie Jones.
I think that's who it is.
That like British soccer player.
That's who it is. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a soccer player, but I always expected him to be like a hooligan. Like you could see him just fucking someone up after a game.
I'm pretty sure he used to be a soccer player, but excuse me, he played footy, as they say in England.
All right. Well, we're in America, so why don't you fucking tighten it up, bud? Get your house in order.
Calm down. All right. Now that our women's team is the best in the world, we can call it whatever we want.
Exactly. Oh, I was about to go another tangent. I can't do it. We're not doing this now.
Nope.
All right.
No, we're not doing this.
Sorry.
We have to just get back to this is a show about cryptids. I promise you.
It is. Okay, but unfortunately for you today, we're going to be moving away from cryptids and we're going to cover something a little different.
This is a show about weird shit and we're doing it.
We're going to be covering a case of possible mass hysteria. Now, mass hysteria is a word thrown around a lot, and I'm not quite sure a ton of people know what it means. You hear like dumb people on the internet use it to like explain like COVID. It's like the far right thinks COVID was a case of mass hysteria with the mask and all that shit. Or even like when there was like all the protests, like the George Floyd protests, like that was just a case of mass hysteria, not people wanting basic human rights. But
dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
But in reality, that's not what it is. Mass hysteria or mass psychogenic illness is defined as the spreading of illness-like symptoms through a population where there is no infectious agent responsible for the contagion. Basically meaning one person sees something doing something weird and there's a lot of anxiety in the town, and then they just fucking do the same thing. Some prime examples of mass hysteria would be the dancing plague of 1518, where in Strasbourg, France, a man named Frau Trophia, I think I pronounced that right, he just started dancing in the streets, and then within a month, over 400 people joined in, like day and night, couldn't stop dancing, just fucking cutting a rug until they physically couldn't anymore, with some even dying due to strokes, heart attacks, and exhaustion.
Yeah, my understanding is they had boogie fever.
Fuck you, son. Oh, sometimes I hate it here. Another example is I don't know how to, I'm going to pronounce this fucking terribly and I'm sorry, is the Tanganyika laughing epidemic of 1962 in the area now.
That was in Africa, right?
Yes, in Tanzania, or what is now Tanzania. This happened a year after Tanzania gained its independence from England, which is fucking wild that was in the 60s because I assumed the empire had fallen.
It blows my mind, like how long England hung on to some places.
It was fucking
like
bonkers.
Canada. Like they're still involved with Canada and Australia.
The Queen was on their money, I think. Yeah, but anyways, schools there had to be shut down, sometimes for weeks, when dozens of schoolgirls started laughing and couldn't stop. By the time the epidemic had subsided, over 1,000 people were laughing uncontrollably, with some of the students also suffering from rashes, fainting, and respiratory problems. I'm assuming because if you're just laughing constantly, your fucking whole shit is gonna get ruined. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you're gonna suffocate. Your muscles are gonna hurt after a while. Your face. Your cheeks are gonna hurt from smiling.
Yeah, I'm sure the capillaries in your eye, like you just fucking like everything's just. But also at the same time, it could have been one of those things, and I don't know why. It was like, you know, when you were like 12 at a sleepover and you're trying to sleep, and then one person starts laughing, and then you start laughing, and then
it's just game over.
But then like everyone stops laughing, but then you start laughing again because of the laugh. It's like one of those things.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been that. Like, laughter's contagious.
I
man.
mean, it's entirely possible.
It makes us all happy, you know. But
in
also,
this one instance, laughter was not the best medicine.
No,
because people almost died.
People got hurt. Now, the most famous case of mass hysteria, and one that hits close to home to both Sarge and I, is of course the Salem witch trials.
Citizen's Guide to the Supernormal. We did like 3 episodes on it. One of them's real boring, and I apologize, but we covered it in depth. We did fucking research.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go...
Which is rare.
I'm not going to go and bore like everyone with the details of this because I'm 100% sure that everyone listening to this is probably familiar with the Salem witch trials, but it was super fucked up and resulted in the deaths of 14 women and 5 men. Now, luckily, the story we're going to cover today, no one died or suffered from any long-term effects, at least not like physically. I'm sure like mentally this kind of fucked everything up. Today, we're going to be covering the Mad Gasser of Mattoon, the name given to the person or persons that were responsible for over a dozen gas attacks that took place in Mattoon, Illinois in 1944. Are you familiar with this?
Were they just going with the most cartoony sounding name possible? Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
Well, it's Mattoon, Illinois is where it took place. He was called the Mad Gasser. He was also called the Mad Anesthesiologist, which I think is kind of fucking cool.
It is, but it's too many syllables.
True, and also I feel like you could have made it an alliteration. Like I feel like there's something there. You could have done better, but
the angry anesthesiologist.
Actually, that might be what it was. I don't know.
Right.
I don't think it was. I didn't write it down.
Or you could just
the Mad Gasser Mattoon to me is the best name, so I chose that one.
What's killing me about the original name though is that they were one letter away from just a great name. The Mad Gasser of Mattoon would have been so much better. You know what I mean? Like, just
I'm gonna start a change.org
chef's kiss.
Change.org petition to change the name of Mattoon to Mattoon. I think we're on to something.
Just go there immediately after the name change and open up a Boston's baked beans shop.
But not the actual food. I'm gonna sell just those candy coated peanuts. That's all it's gonna be. Ugh. You don't like those? Whatever. You're an idiot.
That's not my thing. I you know what? They're from here. That we have all these like things that we're like, oh, you know, Boston's famous for this. No one likes Necco wafers, bro.
No, they're trash.
No one likes them.
Yeah,
they're disgusting.
But growing up in New England, that was a staple in every Easter basket I've ever gotten in my entire life for some reason.
And Halloween, because nothing says safe candy to eat like something wrapped in wax paper.
Well, I mean, we also all right. I was about to go into candy raid, but we got a lot to cover today, Sarge. Goddamn,
we gotta get back into it. We gotta get back into the game.
All right. So, are you familiar with the Mad Gasser?
I am moderately familiar with this. Yes, But I'm sure you're going to tell me things I didn't know about it. I only really remembered it because it was just such a hilarious name to me.
Yeah, it basically just sounds like someone farting in people's bedrooms. Like someone's like fucking Dutch ovening them, like something. All right, so the first attack,
the serial crop duster.
The first attack took place in the early morning hours of August 31st at the Grant Avenue home of Urban Rafe. Rafe claims that he was woken up by a strange odor in his bedroom, thinking it was a gas leak in the house, which would probably be my first thought too. His wife tried to go check the kitchen stove, but found she was partially paralyzed and wasn't able to get out of bed. On that same day, an unnamed young woman reported a similar incident where she was awoken by the sound of her daughter coughing in the next room, but was unable to check on her because she too was suffering from partial paralysis. So far, this is kind of weird. The two incidents happened fairly close to one another. So with like similar symptoms, but for me, like if I just heard this, I'd be like, that's nothing crazy. It could just be like an isolated incident. You know, they're pretty much next to one another. But that all changed on the next day on September 1st. At around 11 p.m. that night, Aline Kearney had just put her kids to bed when she reported smelling a strong, sweet odor. Thinking nothing of it and assuming it was coming from the flowers outside, she went about her business. But then that odor grew stronger, and she started to feel her legs becoming weak and numb. She starts to panic and yells out for her sister Martha, who was there at the time. Martha runs over, and she too notices the strong odor and determined that it was coming from the bedroom window, which had been open at the time. Now, the police were called, but when they got there, they found no evidence that there was like a prowler on the loose. Finally, around 12:30, Aline's husband, Kurt, he got home from work. He was like a taxi driver and wasn't there during the time that like all this shit went down. But when he arrived home, he found an unidentified man snooping around one of the houses, like one of the windows of the house. He gave chase, but was unable to catch him. He described this man as tall, dressed in dark clothing, and wearing a tight-fitting cap. And this description would be like the go-to description throughout this whole ordeal because like their story was the first one of the attacks to be published in the media.
Got it.
Where are you at so far? Because this keeps going. It keeps getting weird.
I'm still trying to figure out like what journey sent two people on that they would name their son Urban Rafe. The man was named in a thesaurus. They just opened a thesaurus and were like, Urban? All right, that works.
I don't mind the name Urban, but it reminds me of Keith.
I don't have a problem with it. I'm just trying to figure out what made you put that word in front of the last name.
It's the 1940s. That's all I could come up with.
Let's name my kid after a highly developed area, but let's be nondescript. Yeah. I want to call him Dallas or something. Urban sounds good.
So the days following the publication of the Kearney attack, there were another 6 attacks that were reported, but there wasn't any evidence that a Mad Gasser had been roaming around fucking shooting gas into people's houses. Nothing physical or, odor-wise. Like the cops would come, they couldn't smell anything. There was nothing there. In fact, there wasn't any real evidence at all that there was like a person doing this. The only quote-unquote evidence was found on September 5th. And that night around 10 p.m., Carl and I don't know how to pronounce this name, but I think it's Beulah, maybe?
Beulah. Probably Beulah.
Probably Beulah. Carl and Beulah Cords. That sounds way more right.
Well, that's what we'll go with.
Carl and Beulah Cords returned home from a night out. And after spending some time inside, they noticed what looked like a white men's handkerchief sitting on their porch right outside their screen door. Beulah, she picked it up and for some fucking reason just put it up to her face and gave it a big old whiff.
Does this smell like chloroform to you?
No. As soon as she did this, she just became violently ill. Her face swelled up, burning in her mouth and throat, vomiting. Some sources saying that she started bleeding from her nose and mouth. And like the other victims, started feeling weak and getting partial paralysis of her legs. Dude, why would you I've never seen a strange piece of cloth and be like, what'd that smell like?
Let me give this a deep sniff. Let me investigate. Beulah. Mistakes were made.
Along with the cloth, a well-used skeleton key was also found on the sidewalk in front of the Cords' home. And alongside that, a large, almost empty tube of lipstick, which I don't see how it's relevant, but okay. Now, the cloth that Beulah snorted like a line of Adderall was analyzed by authorities, but they found no chemicals on it that could explain the reaction that she had. Now, at this point, obviously, people in the community were starting to get a little concerned, and the police were severely understaffed. Because remember, this is 1944 in a small town in Illinois. Like, a majority of the men were off fighting in World War II, so people kind of took it upon themselves to police in the only way that us Americans know how, and that is armed posses roaming the streets with shotguns and pistols at night.
Why does this always happen?
Because it's America, man.
Remember the Providence one that you were, Provincetown, the same thing. Fandoms? They're just like, we need everybody with a gun to go outside and make this even less safe.
Yeah, that's what, they did. Dude, it was wild is that in Illinois, they also had the Murphysboro Mud Monster was there. I think there were some people going around with guns there.
Oh, right.
And then there was the Enfield Monster. Bunch of people with guns there, and they were shooting into bushes and shit. Like whenever something moved in the shadows, they just started fucking blasting.
Welcome to America.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, dudes walking around with shotguns, pistols. Women carried bats or clubs whenever leaving the house, and many residents started staying with friends and family so they didn't have to sleep alone. Eventually, the police had to be like, guys, you can't be roaming the streets with guns. Like, I know it's fun, but it's like a public safety thing.
Call back the posse. You're not helping.
Yeah. They also issued a statement that you shouldn't linger in residential areas because one of these roving bands of vigilantes just might straight up fucking kill you. Like
so many reasons. Yeah. So many reasons you could get shot.
So eventually the FBI was called in to help with the investigation, as well as 5 squads of Illinois state troopers to help with like just patrolling the streets, since the police force in Mattoon was basically cut in half. During this time period of extra policing, more physical evidence did pop up, like a footprint in a flower bed under a window, tears in screens, but nothing that really pointed anyone in any direction of like who the perpetrator could be. But like I said, there were dozens of attacks, with most of them being false alarms. There are some credible ones though, like the Rafe and Kearney attacks that I mentioned earlier, as well as the Beulah Cords one, kind of. On September 6th, Fred Gobble saw who he believed to be the gasser. On September 7th,
now you're just making up names.
On September 7th, and this one's my favorite one, someone claimed they saw blue vapor and heard a motorized buzzing sound that they believed to be from a quote-unquote gassing machine. So, September 13th, you're going to think I made this up, Bertha Birch claimed to have seen the gasser and claimed it was actually a woman dressed as a man, and the footprint that they had found earlier that I mentioned, that this is the footprint that they found. They found a woman's footprint.
That explains the lipstick.
I mean, kinda. Now, eventually, on September 12th, the day before that Bertha saw the gasser that was a woman dressed as a man, the police issued a statement saying that they were going to reduce their priority that was afforded to gasser reports, and announced that the entire incident was the result of totally explainable happenings that were just being exacerbated by public fears, and it was a sign of the anxiety felt. This is such a gaslighting thing to say. It's a sign of the anxiety felt by women while the local men were off at war.
Oh man, this is the most American episode ever. We got roving bands with guns, a dude with a fart problem, and good old misogyny.
Dude, talk about hysterical. Am I right? Ayo, let's get this. All right.
Ayo.
No. What's weird is that after there's this announcement, though, the gasser reports kind of just faded away. So was it mass hysteria, or was there actually a madman going around gassing people in their homes just for thrills? Well, there are a couple of theories on what actually happened. One, there was an actual assailant. Some researchers have come to the conclusion that at least some of the attacks were the work of the Mad Gasser of Mattoon, and they did carry out a series of gassings as reported. The second, obviously, mass hysteria. So 2 weeks after the supposed attacks began, Thomas V. Wright, the local public health commissioner, announced that, yes, there had undoubtedly been a few gassing incidents, but a majority of them were likely due to hysteria. People hearing about a sensationalized attack in the press and then panicking whenever they, quote unquote, were confronted by an out of place odor or a shadow in the night. And most of the symptoms that had been reported due to the gas, things like weakness, temporary paralysis, swelling of mucous membranes, things like that, they're all symptoms of like mass hysteria. And it didn't help. It didn't help that the first headline to come out during the attacks were Mrs. Kearney and daughter first victims, which led the public to like at large to assume that there's going to be more attacks. If you label someone as the first victim, like you're kind of putting in people's heads that they're just going to fucking keep going. Now,
I know if only they had not called it World War I, we wouldn't have had the second one.
Whatever, dude. Fucking back-to-back World War champs, bro. Come on, dude. Fucking America, bro. Now, another theory is toxic waste and pollution from war manufacturing. The Mattoon was a pretty big manufacturing like town even before the war, and even up until like basically they were like the Detroit of Illinois, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like
a lot. And it only got worse after we opened the bean shop.
Exactly. So, so during this time, they were fucking making a bunch of shit for the war effort. In the press conference that took place on September 12th, Police Chief Cole told the press that the odors and symptoms could have been the result of pollutants or toxic waste released by nearby plants, specifically Atlas Imperial. And he theorized that carbon tetrachloride or trichloroethylene, both chemicals having a sweet smell and can produce the same symptoms that were being reported, may have been released from the plant and spread to the town. Well, Atlas Imperial, they did not like getting called out like that, and they fucking clapped back with their own statement, basically saying, sit down, shut the fuck up, you don't know what you're talking about, saying in their own statement that they only had 5 gallons of carbon tetrachloride in stock, and they were all contained in firefighting equipment. They also denied that any quantity of trichloroethylene that they had at the plant could be responsible, as you would need so much of it to make the town sick, and that factory workers would have experienced similar or even worse symptoms long before anybody on the outside of the factory would have been even remotely affected by it. Another theory, and Sarge, I don't know how this dude keeps cropping up in our fucking stories, even once not about cryptids, but this was featured in Lauren Coleman's book, Mysterious America, where a description of an illustration of the Mad Gasser reads, quote, the artist depicts them as a not quite human, possibly extraterrestrial being, end quote. So we know that one's not real.
Settle down, Lauren Coleman. This is bullshit. Made me so angry I muted myself by accident. Go back to your grasshopper men, you dick.
Yeah, so in the end, since no one was ever caught, and with such little evidence, like, who knows what really happened in this town or if the gasser is real or not. But there you have it. That's the case of the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. You got any theories? Because I got a theory, and I don't know.
Oh God, this makes me so. Just the whole story is amazing. I was right. I didn't remember all of it. But so my theory is, you're in a town in the 1940s.
Sounds awful.
Your windows are always open, you know?
Yeah.
You picked up some smells. What time of year was this again?
It was September, so it was like pretty much summer, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, your windows are still open. People are probably passing out because it's hot.
Yeah.
You know, back then, they didn't exactly hydrate. I mean...
Well, no, everyone
coffee in the morning, whiskey at night.
I was gonna say, everyone, like, they were just eating just the rawest of red meats and just whiskey. Like, I've seen Mad Men. I know it's not the 40s, but like, it might as well be. Like, I just picture everything pre-70s is just Mad Men.
Yeah, their idea of salad was like a garnish next to a steak.
No, wasn't their idea of salad fucking like Jello?
Weird Jello.
Weird Jello salad. I'm glad.
Yeah, because it's World War II, so they're also rationing. So people are not getting nutritious food. There's like a whole thing. If you want to go down a crazy rabbit hole, look up FDR's his rationing recipes that like his wife put together.
Oh God, dude!
Basically, people eating like weird versions of hot dog casserole. I think it probably was just kind of a stinky town, and then it sort of expanded once, hysteria set in.
Yeah.
And everybody just went a little Looney Tunes, which it makes sense for a town called Mattoon.
So I have a theory, and I think this might be a theory that was actually posited at the time. I don't really know. But I think that at the beginning, there was something going on. I do think that there was someone gassing the town. But you got to think the police was at half manpower, and they were in a town. The town had like, at the time, I think like 15,000 people. It's like a small city. You know what I mean? Like, so they probably didn't have the resources to like really look into it, and they didn't put the full effort into trying to find the quote unquote Mad Gasser when the initial attacks began. But then once like the population started like freaking out about it, and then the actual mass hysteria started like really running rampant, I think by the time they took it seriously, the Mad Gasser was already done doing his thing, and they had no chance of it. Like, they waited way too long to actually take it seriously before they could actually. So I think it's like column A, column B thing. Like, I do think there might have been someone, but I do think that it caused mass hysteria. No help to the media, because they were just fucking like.
Of course, no, the media's never done a good job with things like that.
No, and plus in the 40s, every headline back then was a fucking like it. I saw a newspaper article. I saw a newspaper article. And it was like Hitler in Germany, and then underneath it was like Mad Gasser of Mattoon. It's like, you can't put those two things side by. Like, that's going to cause the anxiety of people. Like, there was no.
What if it was like a rogue Nazi spy, right?
Well, I mean,
a rogue German spy, and he's just been living off a cabbage soup for 2 weeks. And then he's like, I'm going to gas everyone in this town. Open your windows. Here comes my butt.
Dude, there was fucking U-boats in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, like in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. You know what I mean? Like, they got there was a plot close, that was, dude.
Yeah, there was a plot to blow up a bridge in New York. And the only reason it got foiled is because the Germans got like shit-faced, and they kept bragging about what they were going to do.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't think it was someone just eating fucking. I mean, if anything, it would be the Irish corned beef and cabbage farting in your windows.
But also Germany loves their sauerkraut, and that is made from cabbage.
But also during the 40s, I feel like I read something during this where the Irish were used for some things, and it was not good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's fact.
But anyway, so
not popular, guys.
But that's my theory. I think that initially there may have been something. I mean, I work near a chemical plant. Every once in a while, you will get a whiff of something.
Yeah.
Or I work at a print shop, which is right next to fucking Dow Chemicals.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Mostly your mustache just falls off.
Yeah, so you'll get a whiff of something, but I mean, so that could be happening in this town too. But I do believe that there was something happening. I don't believe that lady saw a fucking blue mist and heard the hum of a fucking vaporizer. I don't think that was real.
No. That was just somebody's vibrator to cure the hysteria.
But no, yeah, I think it's twofold. I think initially there was, and then I think the cops dicked around too much, and then when shit got real, they couldn't do anything about it. So they're like, no, you're all fucking making it up.
Well, yeah, like their whole idea of solving crime back then was just finding the nearest minority.
Well, yeah, well, it's like that fucking that old John Mulaney joke was like CSIs now, like they're like fucking dusting for fingerprints and collecting blood. Back then, like, there's a dead body. Draw a chalk line around it so you remember where it was. That's all they had to go.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, well, there's no brown people in this town. Let's blame the Italians.
But even then, like there was no suspects, and I.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a tough thing. Like, there's no stereotype that involves creating gases. I mean, there could be. But also, I guess it
could be warfare. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to go down the road of being like it's women being hysterical because the men aren't around. But I do think that during World War I and World War II, like gas warfare was a big thing. You're probably reading about that in the newspaper. You smell something weird during a heightened time of like tension in America. Like you smell a weird smell that you've never smelled before. You might be thinking it is a chemical attack or something. You know what I mean? Like it was like back in like 2002 when if you saw white powder anywhere, it was immediately anthrax. You know what I mean? Like So
I mean, I don't want to get canceled here, but if because we looked this up, and I know I'm going to get canceled the minute I said it.
Nothing has. You should
nothing
not,
good has ever come from the statement.
Yeah,
but look, I did some research.
You might as well have said like, I'm not racist, but
when I was doing research on the Salem witch trials, one of the things that we came across in the research was
women weren't coming enough.
Studies,
you gotta fucking diddle that bean, dude. Fucking DJ that.
You gotta give her a vibrator and send her to the seaport to the coast. No, what we came across was that women were slightly more susceptible to mass hysteria than men.
Fucking tell me about it. Am I right, women?
Can't spell overreact without ovary. But in real life, though, that was what we came across, and I still don't think this is mass hysteria. I think the police were definitely gaslighting the women in a super fucked up way, like, oh, your husband's away at war. Must be a vagina getting in the way. I don't think that was the case at all. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like,
dude, I hate when my vagina gets in the way. It fucking sucks, dude.
Oh man, I love that internal plumbing. But bottom line, I'm trying to say is there is some truth to just like pointing at a bunch of women victims and going mass hysteria only because that was a commonly held belief that was somewhat backed up statistically, like a little bit slightly better than chance.
True.
However, coming back to this, it's not a big enough group, not a big enough sample size to be able to say, oh, it's just mass hysteria. What did we talk about? What, 12 people maybe?
Yeah,
that were affected by this, and some of them were dudes. Some of them were men.
Yeah.
So how is the argument? Oh, your husband's away at war, except for Jim because he couldn't get married to a dude back then.
Well, I think what it was that if you were a man in America in 1944 and you weren't at war, you're pretty much a fucking woman at that point, dude. You fucking pussy. Fucking, what are you doing, dude? Here's a vibrator for your fucking pussy, you fucking.
I don't know what to do with it, but I'm going to the seaside anyway.
Well, I mean, technically, I think they'd have to go to a Great Lake, right? Isn't Illinois a...
Oh yeah, good call. They'd have a long drive to get to the ocean that way. Yeah. They'd have to go to New Jersey, I think.
Illinois, dude, I don't know where. I just realized
the nearest waterway would be. Illinois is so you have got Illinois, a little bit up is Michigan.
Yep.
Next to it is Indiana.
Okay.
And then I believe Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. I'm drawing this out on a map for those of you listening in an audio thing. So I don't want you to be like, Sarge thinks Pennsylvania is right next to. Anyway,
this has been Sarge's Geography Corner. Thank you.
I'm pointing. The only reason I'm doing that is because I've been to some of these places. My brother lives in Michigan, and I know that Illinois is right below.
I've been to every single one of these states, and I couldn't fucking tell you where. So that's the Mad Gasser. I mean, it's not much. It's not like a big story. It's not crazy, but like there's weird shit going on.
It's a great story.
Anyways, so that's it. Sarge, you got anything else you want to add before we plug our shit and do our thing?
Yeah. I think this story is amazing. It reminds me of another story of a slasher who was going around slashing ladies and stabbing them in the butt.
Oh, I remember the bus. That was recent, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that was no. This was back in the, I want to say early 1900s as well, because this is when hat pins were a thing and women were carrying around hat pins for weapons. And it turned out that was also attributed to mass hysteria.
You know what I was thinking of? Gaddafi.
If ever anyone
was stabbed in the butt,
deserved to get stabbed in the butt, it was Omar Gaddafi.
All right. But yeah, there you have it. That's the story. Sarge, you want to plug anything before we sign off?
Yes. I got a comic book. Not a comic book, a coloring book. I keep saying comic book because my brain's broken.
I think that means we just need to write a comic book.
We do need to write a comic book.
Yo, ready?
The Adventures of Sergeant Dave.
It's us, paranormal investigators.
Yes.
But we never find anything, but we're always terrified. No. It's like Scooby-Doo, but we never.
Oh, yeah. We're just too scared to go in 90% of the time. So we're sitting in a car out front drinking.
Just the windows defrosting because well, I mean, it's cold outside. We can't go outside.
I'll just do my best Zach Baggins impression and just scream the whole time.
Just immediately want to fight demons.
Yeah, but cry and scream every time I hear like a pipe settle.
Like, fuck you, demons! What the fuck was that? I mean, what's good? So you got a coloring book.
So I got a coloring book. I'm very excited about this coloring book. It's if you go to sargessupernormal.com, that is Sarge and then an S and then another S for supernormal. So Sarge's Supernormal.
Gotcha.
2 S's in the middle. Don't let that throw you off. It's going to be released on July 5th. Everybody should buy it on July 5th. Because then we can become a #1 bestseller and then fucking take that Random House.
You've been saying that, but I don't understand. Yeah. Does that does that mean like because it's all bought on a single day you're a bestseller, or because there's like a cutoff and it's like on September on
so basically there's categories. There's categories that books fall into. Mm-hmm. And you don't really see that. Like when you see something on the bestseller list, there's probably a number of reasons why it's there.
A bunch of factors.
Yeah. So in this case, it's an adult coloring book that is being released on July 5th. Yeah. So let's say
cock.
I sell 25 of them.
Yeah.
And no one else sells any, mm-hmm. or everybody else sells 1 or 2. I'm a bestseller for that day.
Oh, so it's
so Amazon slaps a bestseller sticker on there and says, hey, boom, you did it. I actually did that accidentally with a short story I wrote on Amazon. And it was a bestseller for one like 15-minute period, but it's still considered a bestseller.
That's fucking hilarious.
And that wasn't even deliberate. That was an accident, and it still worked out in my favor. I have written a couple of short stories. When you try to buy this book, this coloring book, on July 5th, you'll see my author page on Amazon, and I have 2 short stories that you can only get digital, and then you can get the coloring book in real life, and then you can find me on the street, and I'll sign it for you for no reason.
Yeah, if you're just roaming the streets of Massachusetts, you may or may not.
You can find me.
Yeah, just fucking
follow the clues on my TikTok and you'll find me somewhere.
Yeah, just stand outside the fucking Palladium, dude. He'll be there. Fucking Metal Fest, dude. He's gonna go see fucking Monomoth, dude.
Chances are, if a Monomoth is somewhere playing near Massachusetts, and you go to that show, you will find me. So,
all right. So Sarge's Supernormal.com. Go there.
SargeSupernormal.com.
It'll be, oh my God, I'm dying.
You are dying.
The Mad Gasser is coming for me. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's at Cryptid Cocktail. There's a link in the description that you could find all these links, and Sarge's Supernormal will be in there as well. If you want to follow him, all those links are in there. Where to find us? I mean, you're already listening to us, so you already know where to find us there.
Yeah. Come and find us more. More finding us. Follow me on everything just for the fun of it.
Everything. Listen to us on Patreon, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It's $5 a month. Just give us your money.
And I basically respond to every DM. So if you ever have a question or want me to appear at the opening of a shopping mall in your neighborhood, just shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm going to respond to you at least once.
Yeah. At least at the bare minimum once.
At the bare minimum once. And sometimes I respond more than you want me to, and then you block me. But that's not my fault.
That's on you.
That was just me being friendly. I can make the promise that you're not going to see pictures of my wiener, because I don't do that.
Well,
you're going to pay for that kind of action.
I was going to say, now people aren't going to fucking DM you. Follow us, follow him. Patreon, $5 a month. Patreon.com/Cryptid Cocktail Party. And then I think that's it. Sarge, say goodbye and that you love everyone.
Hey, I love you.